Lex Luthor, the world's richest man. Jeff Bezos, the world's richest man. At the time of writing, his net worth of $189 billion makes him the world's richest man, earning $2,219 a second. Even the divorce settlement of $38 billion barely dented his wealth, and that's not even his final form. In this video, we're going to spend all of his money. All of it. He also remains the richest person to not sign the Giving Pledge, a chum's agreement amongst billionaires where they agree to be at least 50% less rich by the time they snuff it. Even Zuckerberg found the sparks inside his cold metallic heart to sign the pledge. But not Bezos. Now, he may be a Scrooge, but unlike Scrooge McDuck, he can't swim in a pool of gold. His wealth is not liquid. What that means is his net worth is not held in cash. If it was, the mattress would be quarter of the way to Mars from the height of all the notes, which would be more impressive than Blue Origin's current efforts. No, his wealth is tied up in Amazon, of course, the one company that gets stronger no matter the bad press, increased competition, or global pandemic. Pinch yourself. Wake up in the true timeline. Trump never happened, Colonel Sanders won the election, and Jeff Bezos' wealth is seized by the state and turned into cold, hard cash. For illustration purposes, let's spend the money on normal billionaire stuff. You could buy a crystal piano, 10 Beyonce birthday bashes, 999 Falcon 9s, 80 years at the world's most exclusive island, buy every single listing on Amazon.com, and then buy Apple Park and use it to store all of those items. At this stage, I'm running out of ridiculous things to buy, so let's just get 715 cruise ships, paint the smile on it, and now you can get a cruise as part of Amazon Prime. And there is still money to spare. Eat the rich. But no, Colonel Sanders to the rescue. I want you to spend the money for the greater good, he says. Help as many people as possible. This job is up to you. That's easy, you say. There are 7.8 billion people in the world. I'll divide the number, $189 billion, by the number of people, and everybody gets a crisp $24.23. That's fair to everyone and helps the most people. For some of the world's most impoverished, this will be life-changing. But it soon dawns on you that even Zuckerberg will be getting $24.23 from you. And surely this isn't the best way. And how will you distribute this? Cash? Literal helicopter money? You could spend billions on logistics alone. And what about the adverse effects on the economy? And you're stumped. What Colonel Sanders has asked you to do is to take the most utilitarian approach, which in essence is the philosophy that an action is morally right if it results in the greatest benefit for the most people, the greater good. You're handed a book so that you can swat up, and you find that there are 3 foundations to utilitarianism. Number 1, pleasure and happiness are the only things that have intrinsic value or the most utility. John Stuart Mill, in his catchy essay from 1861 named Utilitarianism, talks about how we do value health, wealth, and knowledge, but only because we value the pleasure and happiness that it brings. We value beauty because it is pleasurable to witness. We value knowledge because, in general, it is useful to us in coping with the world, and hence is linked to happiness. And we value love and friendship because they are sources of pleasure and happiness. Number 2, actions are right if they boost happiness, but are objectionable if they produce any unhappiness. And finally, number 3, everyone's happiness is equal. I know, what a wild concept. Now that you're an expert, you set out with your $186 billion to apply these principles. It's obvious, you think. World hunger, of course. 820 million people are still chronically hungry, and at least a cursory look at food wastage from the rest of the world, there would appear to be enough being produced. If only we knew someone good at logistics. This is where it gets complicated. Estimates range from $7 billion to $265 billion per year to feed everyone in the world, which means you can either feed everyone for about 26 years or 8 months. And even if you could get meals sustainably delivered to the remotest regions of the world, what are the carbon impacts? Now that everyone is fed, what are the impacts to population? Even if you pour the resources into more agriculture, do we need to chop down any more trees or risk desertification? And even then, if we pour money into sustainable agriculture, no pesticides, no monocrops, maintained habitats nearby, is world hunger achieving the most good for the most people. Certainly, it's a very worthy cause, and for those it affects, such a program would be life-changing. It would maximize happiness for a lot of people, but not the majority. What if you could do something for all humanity? Something we can all benefit from. Our planet is finite. Even the person we've just extracted all this wealth from agrees. If the world economy and population is to keep expanding, space is the only way to go. Jeff Bezos. In the same way, the space program of the 1960s gave us numerous technological innovations, such as CAT scans, memory foam, LEDs, and even in-ear thermometers. A new space race would spur us to new habitable worlds, and the resulting advances in technology will trickle down and benefit everybody. The only problem with trickle down is much like its economic equivalent, its benefits are very hard to measure. Yes, technological advancement does push the needle of humanity ever closer to the stars, but does that help Mildred with her hip replacement she needs this month? Or indeed, back to our previous example, how does that help us feed the hungry? We've gone too far the other way. Yes, arguably we're benefiting the most people, even future generations, but the tangible happiness and utility that this will achieve is vague, to say the least. Could you do better? What have other billionaires done? You've heard that this Bill Gates fellow has hired some boffins and bashed their brains together to spend his money too. Let's have a look at what they do. With all these separate grants and programs, this almost looks like an entire country's budget, and given the scale of this charity, it is comparable in size and scope. The Gates Foundation has made significant strides in the fight against malaria. Professor Brian Farragher estimates that up to 5% of all human deaths ever are a result of this disease. The Gates Foundation's shotgun approach of eradication, prevention, and working on cures may well lead to this being eliminated as a threat to human life altogether. That seems reasonable, says Colonel Sanders. In reality, getting $1 equals greatest good formula is almost impossible to achieve. I'm no mathematician, and far smarter individuals at the Gates Foundation are doing a pretty good job of working out the economics of utilitarian charitable work. Maybe we could take a chunk and protect the remaining rainforests and wild areas of the world, spend on sustainable living and agriculture, on education and infrastructure that reduces our dependence on consuming constantly. As a species, isn't that the great good? If we're not only maximizing happiness for ourselves, but all future generations too. I hope you enjoyed the video. What would you spend $186 billion on? Comment below with your ideas, and feel free to do this thing or that thing. Have a wonderful day.